Well, this year may mark half a century of diplomatic ties between Singapore and India, but the relationship between the two countries, in fact, goes way back to the days of the founding of Singapore in the 19th century. Akshap Girdidas has more.
India and Singapore have come a long way since their colonial days under the British Empire. A golden jubilee is a significant milestone, and President Tony Tan's state visit to India celebrates the shared ideals of the diplomatic partnership.
We have always had very good relations between Singapore and India, nurtured by the leaders like Mr. Lee Kuan Yew on this side, Mr. Pandit Nehru on the other side. Mr. Lee Kuan Yew has known almost every Indian leader over the last 50 years. So there was this personal element. On top of the personal element, we built on the opportunities that were emerging both in Singapore and in India. And the future looks good because under the administration of Mr. Narendra Modi, he has welcomed foreign investments. He has promised to take away the obstacles to investments and to see that there's a level playing field for everybody.
While both countries look to the future with optimism, it's the past which celebrates the history of Indian heritage and culture since Singapore's earliest days that further strengthens ties between the nations. While the Indian diaspora spreads from Africa to the Caribbean islands, researchers point out that the diaspora in Singapore stands out for several reasons. Rather than being a result of a post-World War II movement, the first Indians in Singapore were here as early as the island's founding in the 19th century.
We have wave after wave of migration from the time of our founding, during the colonial period, right through up to the Second World War, and we have migration continuing till today. So what you have are myriad types of Indian migrants who came at different points in time. You have myriad people some of whom are new migrants who are professionals. So it's a multi-layered diaspora.
The earliest Indian diaspora in Singapore had an eclectic mix of merchants, traders, soldiers from the British Army, small and large business owners. If Singapore's sophistication in modern-day banking is anything to go by, one aspect of the past may have laid the foundations. Prior to 1900s, the Chettiars, a Tamil community with roots to southern India, are often thought to have founded modern banking because they introduced the concepts of debit credit, expenditure, profit and loss, and the balance sheet. The Chettiars back then were nearly the only source of capital for entrepreneurs, and as the earliest financiers, they have often been called Singapore's first venture capitalists. And that business relationship continues to this very day and is set to get stronger. With the new Indian government's plan to build several smart cities in the country, Singapore is already taking centre stage by helping develop the new state capital of Andhra Pradesh.
I think while India is opening up right now, and there is a better level of state-center coordination, I think now it's time for Singapore to look at India more closely across different states, move away, while we do, continue the engagement in the traditional areas of engagement, I think we should look at newer areas to expand this partnership. And I would say that, the next century belongs to, India and Singapore in Asia.
And newer engagements are coming about. India's leading business school, the Indian Institute of Management, organized a series of conferences in Singapore called iImpact. Outside India, Singapore boasts the largest number of IIM alumni in a single city. With over 1,000 IIM alumni leading Singapore-based businesses, there is an estimated 4,500 Indian-owned companies that operate out of Singapore alone. And that will surely mean the continued strengthening of ties that have grown through the centuries.